Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Bijana Bhava Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavadikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai and Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Padavadikacharya Ashtotar Shri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Grantaraj srimadbhagavatam Ki Jai Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Is this you and me? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 14th day of November 2018 in SanDiego, a reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We are in the fourth canto, the creation of the fourth order. Chapter 7, the sacrifice performed by Daksha. Text number 55. Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasena Devan Ubayato Yajat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasena Devan Ubayato Yajat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasvena Devan Ubayato Yajat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasvena Devan Ubayato Yajat Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasvena Devan Ubayato Yajat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasvena Devan Ubayato Yajat Maitreya Uvacha Evam Bhagavatadishta Prajapati Patir Harim Architva Katunasvena Devan Ubayato Yajat. Synonyms. Maitreya, Maitreya. Uvacha, said. Evam, thus. Bhagavata, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Adishtaha, having been instructed. Prajapati Pati, the head of all the Prajapatis. Harim, Hari. Architva, after worshipping. Kratuna, with the sacrificial ceremonies. Svena, his own. Devan, the demigods. Ubayataha, separately. Ayajat, worshipped. The sage Maitreya said, thus Daksha, the head of all Prajapatis, having been nicely instructed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, worshipped Lord Vishnu. After worshipping him by performing the prescribed sacrificial ceremonies, Daksha separately worshipped Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Purport. Lord Vishnu should be offered everything, and his prasadam should be distributed to all the demigods. This practice is still followed in the temple of Jagannath at Puri. There are many temples of demigods around the main temple of Jagannath, and the prasadam which is offered first to Jagannath is distributed to all the demigods. The deity of Bagalin is worshipped with the prasadam of Vishnu, and also in the famous Lord Shiva temple of Bhubaneswar, the prasadam of Lord Vishnu or Lord Jagannath is offered to the deity of Lord Shiva. This is the Vaishnav principle. The Vaishnav does not deride even ordinary living entities, including the small ant. Can we make sure the doors are closed? Please. There seems to be some door open there. Everyone is offered proper respect according to his position. The offering, however, is in relation to the center, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna or Vishnu. The devotee who is highly elevated sees the relationship to Krishna in everything. He does not see anything as being independent of Krishna. That is the vision of oneness. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakaya Chakshu Unmidatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada, opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So we can see further evidence here of Daksha's reformation. He is now not only worshipping Vishnu, but also Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva. Prabhupada makes the point that prasadam of Lord Vishnu should be distributed to all the demigods. I don't know if I told this story before, but if I did, take it as ever fresh. Back in the 90s, I used to do the evening arti, the Sandhya arti on the altar. So, as time passed, it came to be Shiva Ratri. And when I opened the curtains and then I started off in the arti, and then I turned to the audience, I saw that one of our main members there was, just reminded me, he was dressed like Durvasa Muni. And he was offering ardent prayers. But I'm not sure if he was offering prayers to Krishna, because the Shalagram Shila was set up right there behind the fountain, or in front of the fountain. Shivalinga. Shivalinga, I'm sorry. And there were all kinds of offerings there that had been made to the Shivalinga. And this devotee of Shiva, I think he was a devotee of Krishna, but he really liked Shiva too, and he was offering these prayers. So I said, this isn't right. This can't be right. But I couldn't do anything. I'm offering the arti. So I told myself, next time Shivaratri rolls around, I'm going to conduct the worship. I'm going to conduct the whole program. So the first thing we did was read portions of the Song of Shiva in the 4th canto, in which he's teaching the Prachetas how to pray to Vishnu so they become qualified to become Prajapatis. And it's very wonderful. It's a song to Vishnu. It has some really beautiful prayers in it. And I made this point. I don't know if I quoted this purport. This 4th canto is where the Song of Shiva is going to be sung. But the idea that you don't offer anything in a Vishnu temple. In a Vishnu temple, you don't have a Shiva Linga set up and offer directly to the Shiva Linga. This is an offense. You have the Shiva Linga you can have on the side, and you can offer the prasadam to Vishnu, as Krishna was usually do, and then give him the remnants, which is exactly what Prabhupada said here. So we had that set up, and that was going on. And then we did a kirtan, and we used to sing this mantra. Chaturmukh Brahma Bole, Chaturmukhe, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. And then Shiva Bole, Panchamukhe, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We used to do that on the street, actually. That was introduced, must have been introduced by Prabhupada at one point. We don't sing it anymore. But we sang it that night, and I made clear what Panchamukhe is, Lord Shiva, like that. He's singing Hare Krishna. Anyway, so we tried to set up, the understanding amongst it was all mostly our Indian guests, what the actual form of worship of Shiva is, what he's most pleased with, and how to deal with the demigods in the context of the Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And Prabhupada makes it clear here. He's talking about the Jagannath temple. I was there, but I didn't get inside, and I wasn't aware of all these other demigod temples, but Prabhupada explains here. But they're all offered Jagannath Prasad, so in that way recognized. And what's remarkable here also is how Daksha has been so thoroughly reformed, and he's now performing regular worship of Vishnu, and he's completely forgiven. All of his, Shiva is not holding a grudge. He became furious, and then Virabhadra was manifest, and we know the story. It was a catastrophe at Daksha's sacrifice. But then he was duly chastised. He took another birth. He has his goat head. And all is forgiven because he's a Vaishnava. Just like Indra. I mean, Indra did stuff a lot worse than Daksha. His threat was to annihilate the entire Gokula community of cows and cowherd men and everything. So Krishna chastised him. He didn't cut off his head, but he did what we all know he did, and he stopped the storm. And afterward, Indra was much chastened, and he offered these beautiful prayers and surrendered again to Krishna. And then later on, he didn't want him to take the Parijata tree. There was a battle, So he lost the battle, of course, But in these dealings with Krishna and his devotees, Sometimes like with Jai and Vijay, several births in which they actually take birth as demons, but in the end they're welcomed back into the spiritual world. So this is a salient fact of Krishna's personality, is that he doesn't hold a grudge. All these years, you may take demon bodies, you know, and rail against, become complete atheists, and yes, we have to suffer lower bodies, you know, but eventually we come back up again, and Krishna is always with us as the super soul. And so, and as soon as we, in the human form of life, we turn again to him, and we recognize our foolishness and all those other births, and we try our best to chant, he's helping us, you know, from within and without, to come to him again. I was just reading that pastime. I read the whole pastime of Jai and Vijay, and it's very much displayed in that pastime, where you know how Lord Chaitanya, he sent out his two lieutenants, Nityananda and Haridas, to preach with this mantra: Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shika. Just chant Shri Krishna's name and worship him with all your heart. Follow his instructions, and to others impart. So that was what they were supposed to instruct all of the residents, that they would hear, to chant Krishna's name and do these. So they were going door to door and having great success and preaching and doing what Lord Chaitanya wanted. And they come upon this Jagai and Madhai, who they apparently didn't know before. And who are these? They were drunkards, and they were making a big ruckus, and people were giving them a wide berth, you know, and they asked who they were. And he said, oh, these are Brahmins who, due to bad association, fell into bad habits, and now have become the head of the dacoits and the criminals in Navadvip. So don't ask them to chant, you know, they'll attack you. They warned them. So Nityananda thought, oh, these are prime candidates for reformation. He was thinking, if Lord Chaitanya can save these two, then my Lord's name will be in lights, you know, it will be a great victory. So the first thing, he came, and at a good distance, you know, he gave him the mantra, Bolo Krishna Golashusu. What's this? You know, and so they started running after them to grab them. And, you know, the people were saying, don't let him catch you, you'll die, they'll kill you. So Nityananda and Haridas got away. They were, after all, they were drunk. Eventually they fell over and started fighting each other. So, that was, then there was some banter back and forth between Haridas and Nityananda. But later on, Nityananda, a few days later, I forget the exact chronology, he again approached them, and this time Madhai threw his piece of a pot that cut Nityananda, and blood was pouring on his whole body. So then he asked him again. Lord Nityananda was unfazed, and the fact that Lord Nityananda was unfazed and equipoised in this attack, and simply again asked him to chant, really impressed Jagai, who was a little saner, maybe a little less drunk. And so when Madhai was preparing to another attack, he held his arm and stopped him and said, what are you doing? He's a saintly person. You see? So by that time, the word had got back to Lord Chaitanya, who was like the fire at the end of the manifestation. And he invoked his chakra, and he came running. And Jagai and Madhai could see the chakra. I don't know if everyone could see the chakra. But they were paralyzed and just, you know, waiting for the end. So Lord Chaitanya is invoking the chakra, but Nityananda stops him and says, wait, Jagai saved me from the second attack from Madhai. So Lord Chaitanya says, oh, and thank you so much. And he gave him his blessings, and immediately he turned into a bhakta. He started trembling in ecstasy of love of God. And he was saved from danger. So Madhai thought, oh, let me do that too. Please, Lord, I surrender. He said, no. You know, you have to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. So he surrendered Nityananda and got the mercy. So after that, they were completely purified. And they went into a seclusion with the other devotees, you know, and there's a big kirtan, and they're all ecstatic and everything. And Lord Chaitanya warned them. He said, don't think of them in terms of their previous life. They're completely pure now. Even he changed color to show that he had absorbed all of the sinful reactions. And they were transformed. They were totally transformed, and Lord Chaitanya and the other devotees accepted them. In fact, there's even a pastime where Madhai was so regretful of all of the attacks that he had had. Now, they had had the good fortune of never blaspheming the devotees. This was made several points, and so therefore they were. Otherwise, it's much more difficult to become pure. So he was still lamenting all of the things that he had done, the thievery and the attacks and everything else. And so Lord Chaitanya said, "Okay, you want to do a service? You build a little ghat where people go in to bathe, and you stand there. And when people go to bathe, then you beg your forgiveness from them, like that. So he did that, and it's just showing you the transformation. So this idea that there's always a way back. Api chet sudadacharo bhajate mamananya bhaksaro deva samantavyakam yavavasi sohita. Even if one performs the greatest durachar, sinful activity, but he is worshiping Krishna, and he wants to worship Krishna with undeviating intelligence, then he should be regarded as a sadhu and Chiptram Bhavati Dharmatman, that quickly he becomes righteous and attains peace. So this is the great power of Krishna consciousness. We don't have to go to hell. We don't have to suffer grievous reactions to our sins, provided we surrender to Krishna. That's what Sarvadharman is all about. Sarvadharma Parityajya. And that's so encouraging. And that there's no place in Krishna conscious theology for eternal damnation. There are hells, and it may seem like eternity when you're down there, even though it may be just a split second between bodies, but it seems like an eternity because time is like endlessly mutable. Prabhupada said about the going back to Godhead, the famous crow and tall fruit letter, that somehow or other, due to our mischievousness, we turned away from Krishna, and we're dreaming all of these bodies. It's just like a dream. But it's a very realistic dream, and we've completely forgotten our reality. But once we wake up by the process of devotional service and go back to Godhead, we're basically waking up, and we wake up, and it'll just seem like a split second. That's because there's no time in the spiritual world. Time is only here in the material world. So, in the same way that every living entity has hope, even though we may be in a very difficult condition, even though, lower birth, we see that every living entity is coming up to the human form. And in the human form, there's an opportunity to hear and to understand the philosophy and change one's destiny. So here we see the dealings with Daksha. Daksha is, of course, not a demon. He's a devotee. But he became entangled in this false conception of Shiva as his younger son-in-law, and therefore he should offer respect. So much of you find that the problems take place in the Bhagavatam or other literatures because of this false pride. Because people, like Duryodhana and company, oh, they had a chance. We have such a chance to get this kingdom now. It's just like a technicality. Why Pandu is gone, and our father is the eldest. He was always the eldest. So why shouldn't we have the kingdom? So the being enamored with the wealth and the power, which is part of pride, is what caused the whole conflagration. And they were completely contaminated by that. So that's if you read the 16th chapter, you see that's a big problem for the demons. This idea of false pride, and we're seeing it today. I mean, again, I refer to the Cuban Missile Crisis because I went through that, and it was like, just imagine, that death is imminent. It doesn't matter how old you are, Just like we had these fires up there. People, they lived in paradise, irony. And no one was thinking, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, that death is imminent. But our destruction of our wonderful home here, and we're going to be outcasts, we're going to be refugees, basically. Yeah. But there it happened. So that's the way it was with the Cuban Missile Crisis. It just happened, and all of a sudden, we're all doomed. It looks really likely that in 2 weeks we'll all be dead. Doesn't matter if I'm 14 years old, my mother was 50 years old, doesn't matter. Suddenly the reality comes. And all of the the things that were so important, the things that we were really absorbed in, we put our energy, it became meaningless. What's the point of planning my college education when I'm likely going to die in 2 weeks? This is the state, duh. So Krishna consciousness, it means that, yeah, we have an answer for that. We have a very logical answer for that. It's time to become Krishna conscious. This was the whole question of Parikshit. What does one do when death is imminent? Where should he place his mind? Because it's understood in the Vedic culture that mind will form your destiny. That's where you're going. So the answer, of course, was Tasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavyak Kirtitavyasta Smartavyak Chechitabayam. If you want fearlessness at the time of death, that's what the last part of that verse means. Then, O Bharata, glorious descendant of King Bharat, you should always hear about, chant about, and remember Bhagavan, Hari, the supreme controller. There's 4 different Bhagavan Ishvaro Hari Shrotavyak. Hear about and chant about and remember. So that instruction is there for us all the time, because we don't know when we're going to die. And we want to be absorbed in Krishna consciousness at any time. So, and that purifies, because just living in the material world in a conditioned state, even if we're trying to be devotees, so many latent conditionings, then the contamination is there. That's why it's so important, the regularity of the morning program. Just like you take a shower, so you want to take a shower for your mind, for Mangalartik and the Kirtans and the whole morning program. It's a great purification. And the idea is that the rest of the day you try to build on that. And you remember the deities, you remember what was said, you try to apply it, so that the next day you maybe start a little higher and, there's less impurities, that you're actually making advancement. So the Bhagavatam class is an essential part of this, and we're hearing how to respect the demigods, how merciful Krishna is, and forgiving his devotees who are important and who recognize him as the supreme. Okay, any questions? I can go on to another verse. Why not? Rudram cha svena bhagena yupadhavat samahita karmano davasanena somapanitadanapi udabasya sahart vigbi sasnav avabhitham tatha. With all respect, Daksha worshipped Lord Shiva with his share of the remnants of the yajna. After finishing the ritualistic sacrificial activities, he, Daksha, satisfied all the other demigods and other people assembled. Then, after finishing all these duties with the priests, he took a bath and was fully satisfied. So this Avabrita bath comes at the end of the sacrifice. It's mentioned in Krishna book too. Purport. Lord Rudra or Shiva was properly worshipped with his share of the remnants of the yajna. Yajna is Vishnu, and whatever prasadam is offered to Vishnu is offered to everyone, even to Lord Shiva. Sridhar Swami also comments in this connection, Svena Bhagena, the remnants of the yajna are offered to all the demigods and others. Tasma apyanubhavena Svenaiva vapta radase dharma eva matim dattva tudashas te divam yayuhu. Thus, worshipping the Supreme Lord Vishnu by the ritualistic performance of sacrifice, Daksha was completely situated on the religious path. Moreover, all the demigods who had assembled at the sacrifice blessed him that he might increase his piety, and then they left. Although Daksha was considerably advanced in religious principles, he awaited the blessings of the demigods. Thus, the great sacrifice conducted by Daksha ended in harmony and peace. Okay. This is going to go on and on. So it ended in harmony and peace. How to get harmony and peace? By focusing everything on Vishnu and his desires. How he wanted there to be peace amongst the demigods. He wasn't pleased by this battle between Daksha and Shiva, and so he came to the sacrifice, blessed it, and everyone was properly worshiping him. And we find this is another kind of fact of devotional life, that when we glorify Krishna together, either in a kirtan or doing a festival or just ordinary activities, and we see each other doing their duties nicely, then that mitigates any kind of dissension between us. Because that's because when Krishna is pleased, then you become pleased. And when you see others pleasing Krishna, what could be nicer for a devotee to see? Is it? When we're not doing our duties, we create a little friction in the community. But when we do them nicely, we're doing regularly, then we have peace of mind. And we know peace of mind is so important. Krishna has a whole section of that in the 2nd chapter. Remember that? Dukeshwan udvignamana. Arjuna wanted to know what is the characteristic of someone who is stitadi muni, whose consciousness is purified. Let's see if I could probably. So the first thing is Dukeshwan udvignamana, sukeshu vigataspaha, vitaraga bhaya krodha stitadi munaruchite. So Dukesh anudvigna. Now this word udvigna comes up again and again. This means disturbance. Does anyone know that for the first verse where Prahlad is preaching to his father? Prabhupada quoted all the time. Tat sadhamanye sodavarya dehinam sada sam udvigna diyama sadgrahat. He's describing the material condition. And he's saying, okay. The best thing I learned today, Father, I didn't call him Father, he says the best of the demons, is that for those living beings, who are basically all the conditioned souls, who are samudna diyam asadgrahat. You know what asat means? The temporary. And grahat is exactly what it sounds like, holding on to. So we're holding on to and identifying with the temporary material body and all its extensions. And this causes the mind to always be disturbed. Because, just see, at any moment it can be destroyed. Or it can change radically. There's no peace. There's no calmness. Whatever peace we try to retain is artificial. So for that person, what's the prescription? Do you know? Hitvatnapatam. You have to give up this situation, which is basically materialistic household life. Griham andakupam, the blind well of Griha, and go to the forest, Vrindavan, Prabhupada explains in the purport, and take shelter of Hari. So this is the last thing Hiranyakashipu wanted to hear. But this udvigna, so in Bhagavad Gita here, actually Krishna starts, Brajahati yada kaman sarvan parta manogatan. This is how to attain stita pragya, fixed intelligence, without which there's no possibility of peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? That comes at the end. So you have to have this calm mind. So this is like on the pure platform, but he's giving the standard. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parta manogatan. From the mind are arising all kinds of desires. One has to, material desires. So as a devotee, you have to throw them far away. Or put yourself in a situation where you're not exposed to the temptation for those things. That's what the blessing of the ashram. Sarvan, all of them. And is satisfied with the self. Atmaneva manatushta stita pragyasta doshite. So here right away he's saying that without Krishna consciousness, there's no possibility of peace. There may be some yoga, you're meditating on this and that. But if you're not absorbed in Krishna and engaged in Krishna's service, the mind cannot have a final place of resting. It's always going to be. And then comes the one, dukesh anudvignamana. In that situation, the mind, even when threats come, the mind can remain equipoised because you're situated in transcendence. You know you're not the body. And sukeshu vigataspraha. And when temptations come, also your mind is not bothered. Vigataspraha, you give up the desires. And then here comes this phrase that's repeated at least twice in the Gita: Vita raga bhaya krodha, and give up attachment, fear, and anger. Nistita dear Muni. And he goes on. He gives the famous analogy of the tortoise, probably calls him a tortoise, that he pulls the hands in, pulls in the senses, even the head, right? You've seen, and when it's a defense mechanism. So the example is given when the senses are not being used for Krishna, then they're not active. Otherwise, you let the senses go, and then they take the mind, and you forget Krishna. Then he gives this verse that's so, that devotees can relate to. Vishayava nivartaneni daharasiddehina, that one may give up the objects of the senses, not consume them, niraharasya, but the rasa bharjam, the taste remains. But when you experience the higher taste, even the taste goes. And that when that taste for these lower things, when that goes, then you can really be fixed in consciousness. You know, and the only way to do that is to cultivate the taste for Krishna, for the holy name and the service. That he warns, the senses are so strong that they forcibly carry away the mind even of a man of discriminations endeavoring to control them. So the solution is, and this is where Krishna first mentions himself in the second chapter, text 61, as the object of meditation and service. Tani sarvani sangmame yuktasita matpadaha. All of these senses, keeping them under control, fixes his conscience on me, then he's tasya pragyapatishthitan. Your intelligence can be fixed. And then he has those two verses describing degradation, dhyayato vishayan pungsa sangasteshu bhajayate, that everyone can relate to. If your mind becomes fixed on the object of the sense, then you get attached to it, and that turns into passion, and as soon as you yield to that, then you're frustrated because you can never get satisfied, and so you become angry, and that destroys produces bewilderment, and your memory is lost, and your intelligence is lost, and then you're finished. So, and then here's the key verse. Raga dvesha vimuktais vishayan indriyaischcharan. By practicing the regulative principles of freedom, vidhe atma, one can be self-controlled, and then even when the indriyas, the senses, are moving amongst the sense objects, you can be free of attachment and aversion. Raga dvesha vimuktais tu. And then you get prasadam. Prasadam adhigacchati. What's the result of that? All your miseries are destroyed, sarva dukkhanam hanu, and one becomes joyful at heart naturally, and the intelligence becomes fixed. But without Krishna consciousness, you can't have that fixed intelligence. That's what he's saying here. So there's so many important instructions here in the second chapter. Okay, any other further discussion on these points? I could read a couple more verses till 8:30. Evam dakshayani hidva sati purva kalevadam jagge himavatak chetre menayam iti shushama. Maitreya said, I have heard that after giving up the body he had received from Dakshayani, his daughter, took her birth in the kingdom of the Himalayas. She was born as the daughter of Mena. I heard this from authoritative sources. Mena is also known as Menaka and is the wife of the king of the Himalayas. So this is Sati, taking rebirth. Yes, sir. No, this is the English spelling. It's Himalayas.
So it is a Sanskrit word, but it's Himalayas Sanskrit.
Yeah.
But we don't put the
We decided, since it's such a common English word, that to spell it like it is in the dictionary.
So Sanskrit is just one diacritic over the first name.
Yeah, you know what it means? The abode of ice or cold. Hima is cold. It's the same thing, just like Bhagavan, the place where there's a lot of cold. Yeah. Well, Van means possessor, like Bhagavan. So it's a place that possesses or has a lot of cold, ice. That one I have to look up. I think that's Himakuta. Yeah, I think. Yeah. All right, one more. Tameva dayatam bhuya avrinkte patim ambika ananya bhavaika gatim shakti supteva purusham. Ambika, goddess Durga, who was known as Dakshayani, Sati, again accepted Lord Shiva as her husband, just as different energies of the Supreme Personality of Godhead act during the course of a new creation. All right. So I'm going to leave this verse for tomorrow because it's a nice purport here I won't get into. So you're on 59. Okay? The person who gives class tomorrow can do 59. All glory to Srila Prabhupada.